Hey Brendan, this is my creative direction video where I will be discussing the inspirations for my games so far this trimester in Studio 2. I'll start from the start. The personal experience game that, thank you very much, is named Space Existential. Uh, I've got some references here, but really Data Wing by Dan Vogt was really the only game that inspired me. As it says in my artistic description, I'm inspired by my decision to finally study game design formally, a move that helped me rise up out of the pit of depression and confront social anxiety. And it's a metaphor for setting goals and so a meaning in life, striving towards them and persisting despite failure. So I was really building and designing for a feeling, that feeling of rising up and being overwhelmed by, well, anything really. And so the water and the fuel, as well as gravity, all work to do that. But if you haven't played Dan Vogt's Data Wing, there's these high gravity levels. It's actually like a top view racing game where you thrust off the walls, and it feels great to get better at it and beat your previous scores. I've never really been into racing games, but this is different. Play it. But there's high gravity levels that kind of just like push you one direction to give the illusion that you're fighting against gravity by thrusting against the walls and getting like a build up. And I really wanted to recreate that in my own way, and I think I did a really good job. Well, let's talk about Doodle Jump and Moonlander. When I talked about the mechanics I wanted to do, my classmates recommended I check out Doodle Jump, which is a stupidly popular arcade game I'd never played before. And it was just a coincidence that I wanted to make it very much like, raising up on different platforms. Moonlander, recommended by Brendan. It's just the inspiration there is the mechanics, and that is just torque and thrust, which were the only controls in my game. And when I was thinking about a theme for these mechanics, I thought about the message of persisting and setting goals, and I think the best inspiration for persistence is the SpaceX program. Elon Musk has destroyed so many rockets, but they are determined to launch and then land a rocket so that space travel can be repeated with the same vessel and so affordable. That's the whole idea. And so I decided to theme the rocket after the Falcon 9 rocket in the SpaceX program. I guess that's enough about that one. The next game I made this trimester was Suspended Allegory, a bit of a joke name because there is a description for the artwork that talks about how it takes everyday, I guess, elements and happenings and drags them into the realm of suspended allegory, was the exact definition. And Brendan thought I was joking around when I made it this name because I wasn't taking like the art seriously, but it was quite the opposite. I was very, very into the artwork I chose, which was Shamiana, I don't know how to pronounce it, by Nilima Sheikh, I think that's pronounced. This is the description at visualarts.qld.gov.au. The exact scroll that I chose, this one here, I took that photo with my phone, isn't here, but the descriptions are still great. I mean, they're all scenes in the one idea, the one meaning that she wants to to portray. So this description was a good start, but I continued to a bunch of like high art sites to look at the background of her style and of miniature painting, that is, as well as some other like short biographies on arty websites. And I was just looking for phrases and stuff that stuck out at me when I thought about that painting or when I viewed that painting. It was that one scroll that really stuck out at me because I could see like this cycle of life and death being, I guess, hyper stylized in the painting. A lot of people have taken the meaning of like life, like from start to finish, and all of the regular things that happen in life, like getting married and well, cleaning the house was a reference. But I really got the cycle of life and death all making us together. Like everything is born, everything dies, and so the creature that the player controls births new creatures only after it consumes others, and so it kind of personifies birth and death and glorifies it in like this interactive way. It was a lot of fun drawing the creatures with my cousin. It was very therapeutic, but I really think I presented my interpretation of Nalima's meaning, her aesthetic, as we call it in games. And I mean, in the future, if I'm ever dry on inspiration, I'll go back to Goma and find something that really jumps out at me, just like this did. I didn't think something would, but you give it a try. And even if something just makes you think of a game mechanic you'd like to explore, then just, if it's inspiration, you do it. And you get better. The third game I made this trimester was a music game where an audio student was the creative lead and client. So I was really excited to, I guess, simulate interacting with the client and meeting their needs and helping them make their idea great, because they're not necessarily great game designers. But if we go through the documentation, we were really lucky, my team and I, because our client had a really good idea about what he wanted. We didn't have the track before we started making the game. The client was making the track as we made the game, and so our references weren't, well, what I guess would be normal, as in I might look at the genre and then watch some video clips for that genre of music, but we were actually referenced to one of the client's favorite video clips here by Death Grips. I'll just pause it there because it all looks the same pretty much. It's footage of the band playing with this wireframe kind of a neon colored abstraction, and our client loved that. Like, it was just simple but really cool. Here's another Death Grips video here, and again footage of the band but with this color split. So one level of visual abstraction. This is a very different genre of music to what a client made, but this was the inspiration we went from. And so we're just thinking, like, how can we keep this super simple yet have this big strong level of abstraction? And in the end, voxel art was what we chose, even though everyone's really tired of working with that. But he wanted a 3D world that you walked through, and so this was actually my first couple of days working on models, but this is basically what it looks like. In terms of like feel, if we go back to the and meaning, not only did our client have video clips to be inspired by, but he had a time and a place, and that's old school downtown Tokyo, and he asked us to use neon color palettes. That's like cyan, magenta, and yellow mostly. I don't think he liked red too much, even though there's a lot of red in the neon signs in downtown Tokyo. So we had quite a wish list, as you can see here, early on in the project. One of the ideas was to split color with chromatic aberration, just like in that Death Grips video clip. But otherwise, this is all just specifics for the environment and how you interact and move through it. And I mean, the client had a solid message that he wanted to deliver in the mechanics and the environment. So the only thing left to do was bring it all together. So it wasn't the best learning experience, I guess. It went a little too smoothly in that our audio client really knew what he wanted, and he was almost responsible for ensuring that his music kind of fit the game idea that he had. So it was a little backwards to what most of the music games that come out of Studio 2 work like. Here's some of the notes that I took when I was researching to help concept the music game. Proteus was probably the game that I mean, all music games kind of abstract or distort real life, or they don't have real life in the first place. They might be in a video game, digital world like Tron, or a fantasy environment that's not real. That's video games, but Proteus and Panoramical, they do, I mean, Proteus is much more literal in its representation of a real-world environment. It just has really low-res sprite billboards in 3D, so it's really interesting. And Panoramical is just pure image effects and shaders going crazy. Sometimes it looks like you're, amongst trees and there's water reflecting the trees, but it is all just colored lines that move and distort to the beat of the track. And if you haven't played Panoramical, play it. Very inspiring stuff. That's the other thing, like I played these games not just to get ideas for the music game we were making, because we had quite a solid concept off the bat, but they really helped me inspire, they really helped inspire me to get excited about making this game. So just the same as wrong one. So just the same as the way Data Wing, the feeling of overcoming those high gravity levels, helped inspire me to make a game about feeling, purely about feeling. Though I like to although our brief was about a personal experience, I really like to make things less narrative and personal and more expressive of my emotions. So the bottom line is, all of these games, I think, despite my heavy criticisms during production, I'm very hard on myself. I think they're quite strong. And then they're quite strong because I was designing for an experience, for a feeling or a meaning, such as in Suspended Allegory, meaning of birth. And what's right here makes you feel at one with the universally relatable, mundane yet profound concepts of birth and death. And that just means everyone dies and everyone's born. They're mundane because it happens to everyone and it's common, but they are two of the most profound concepts people can think about, life and then afterlife, which there's no proof of. So although those concepts are profound, the original meaning of the artwork was to take something mundane and glorify it and make it mystical and I'm struggling for words. Fantastical, sure, that's good enough. And so it would be silly of me not to have some kind of inspiration, some kind of meaning driving my designs in the future. Sure, it's fun to do a game jam and just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks, but you're not gonna accidentally create like a strong feeling if you're not constantly considering it whilst you're designing. So yeah, Goma. You know, you've watched a really good movie, and you felt really emotional watching it. Do some research into what it was about that movie that made you so emotional, or what clicked with you, and you might be inspired. But just wanting to make a game that's about the same thing your favorite game is about, it's probably not the best way to go. The more diverse the mediums you explore for inspiration, the more interesting the game. For example, this painting, the artist probably never thought about the meaning of the painting becoming a game, and I wouldn't have either unless I did some research into why it was that this painting stuck out at me. So yeah. Google, do some research into things that mean something to you and that stick with you, and you'll be really inspired to make a cool game. Thanks for listening.